Jess. Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm really excited, as per usual, to be recapping episode 7 of the Gilded Age. I did not know my audience would be interested in reviews, recaps, discussions about the Gilded Age. So shouts out to the commenters who let me know, like, yes, girl, tell us what you think. Let's discuss. Really appreciate the feedback. So I'm late to the party, but I will be recapping the final episodes. I think we have 3 more to go, total of 10, I think. So here we are. Let's jump into, excuse me, episode 7. So let's just kind of divide this between old money side of Fifth Avenue, new money side of Fifth Avenue. So on the new money side of Fifth Avenue, the Russel family, we have these competing ambitions. So George Russel is still under investigation. We'll say that. And the investigation is getting serious about the train accident. It's alleged that he knew that the products were faulty and that he moved forward with them anyway, and that someone has evidence in the form of like a signed note. Sorry, I have my laptop open. I'm sorry if you guys can hear that. Someone has evidence in the form of a signed note that he knew that the products used were faulty. And his response is, well, show me the money, show me the receipts. If I knew stuff was messed up and I decided to go the cheap route, then where is the money that I saved by going the cheap route? And he's looking at his lawyers like, I know I'm not doing y'all job for y'all. What are we here for? So George Russel is also trying to build, what's his name of the station? It's not Grand Central Station. It's like Union Station or something like that. Now, based on what I think I know, the actual Grand Central Station was financed by Cornelius Vanderbilt. So I don't know. And there were some competing factions for what was actually going to happen with Grand Central Station. So I'm wondering if there's going to end up being a struggle for whether or not that station is actually going to be built between Mr. Russell and the Vanderbilts and whomever else. But either way, he's trying to, he is a railroad magnate, so he wants to be responsible for the building of that. And, the station that has electricity. Electricity is the talk of the town, okay? So that's George Russell. He dealing with a case, okay? He done caught a case. He's trying to figure that out, and he's still trying to keep his business pushing. Mrs. Russell, the insufferable bitch, she's still focused on getting her family established in high society. And I don't know if I should hate her or admire her, or a combination of both, because 2 things can be true at the same time. On the one hand, this is her responsibility as a woman who's married to a well-to-do man. It is her responsibility to establish this family's social standing. Okay, I can grant you that. I also appreciate how she's not backing down. But she is still a social climber, and I find social climbers to be insufferable, even though I get that is the way of life at this time. So, young Miss Russell, Gladys, has actually befriended Miss Astor. Now, Mrs. Astor is at the very top of society. So this is this is an advantageous friendship for Gladys. And because young Miss Astor is actually low-key using Gladys's debutante ball to see her boo that her mama don't approve of, that they're bonding over, this is the perfect opportunity for Mrs. Russell to pretend that she wanted to plan this ball all along. It's really just that she finally has people through young Miss Astor who will actually fill the ballroom. That's why she said the whole thing of like, oh, well, we'll definitely invite your parents. She didn't want to debut Gladys because she knew that she didn't have the social standing to fill that ballroom. Now that Gladys has actually struck out on her own and made a friend in young Miss Astor, she don't have to worry about that. So go Gladys. But Gladys was also kind of looking like, damn, you really low-key kind of using me to climb this social ladder. But again, what else is she going to do? They don't have Netflix. What else they going to do? They don't have streaming services. All they have is petty drama to keep their lives going. So Larry Russel has decided that he wants to be an architect. He does not want to follow in his father's footsteps. And the architect that built their house is like, I'm gonna help you out with your daddy. I'll participate in the conversation. I let him know I'm gonna hook you up, da da da. George Russell is like, this skit that y'all put on is real cute, but you're gonna work for me. Let's all move on with our lives. Like, George Russell is like, I got too much to deal with for you to be coming at me saying that you don't want to follow in my footsteps. Like, what are you talking about? Get out of here now. Meanwhile, Turner, since we're in the Russell household, his trifling hoe. I am so sick of Turner. I want to put hands on Turner. I want someone to put hands on Turner. Like, she's so out of pocket. It's one thing to talk shit about your boss or your CEO, right? You don't see them people. You don't know them people. You don't really have an intimate relationship with them. You dress this woman several times a day and you went and got in her husband's bed. Like, you a real different kind of trifling hoe. I'm so sick of Turner. I really am. Which is the perfect segue for us to cross the street to the Van Ryan house. Now, Aunt Agnes is going through it. And I'm going to say I am kind of relishing in seeing Aunt Agnes go through it because Aunt Agnes is a crotchety old bitch. And I say this as a feminist. I'm kind of happy to see her knock down a peg or two because, like, stop being such an asshole to people. We saw what happened last episode when she lost her temper because Bannister crossed the avenue and went and helped out the Russells. Now, I thought she fired Bannister. She did not. She keeping Bannister around just to be an asshole to him. And I'm fed up. Bannister, find you another job. Bannister got him a little check. He don't even know what to do with it. Okay? It's like, what you gonna do? Go get a bank account? I might. Bitch, I might. Go Bannister. Who wrote the letter? Who sent the letter snitching on our homeboy? I think it's the same trifling ass maid who told Agnes about her son and Turner. So Aunt Agnes feels that she has been betrayed to the highest degree. What I loved about this is that Ada really kind of found her voice this episode and was like, I know you didn't think your son was out here being a virgin. Like, what you think happened when he goes to these after hour spots that he go to? It's women in there that be lighting cigars, doing whatever. And I appreciate that Ada is finding her voice and she's clapping back at Agnes because Agnes is just condescending and belittling to everyone except our good sis Peggy. She don't be coming to Peggy like that. And I like it. So Aunt Agnes feels that she has been betrayed by Bannister. She feels that she's been betrayed by her son because it's not just that Turner works for the Russells. It's that Turner works. It's that Turner is of the servant class. Meanwhile, Aunt Agnes has no idea. Her son don't even like girls. He's plotting on young Gladys to be his beard, but she don't know that. And I wonder, is that what the actual argument was about? Because we didn't actually see the argument between, is his name Oscar? His name just fell out of my head. Between Aunt Agnes and her son. We didn't actually see that argument take place. So I wonder if he said, like, girl, I am gay. I don't want that woman. Is that what the argument was? Or was it just like, you can't be dating her? And he's like, girl, I'm not. The world may never know. So then our good sis Marian gets somehow dragged into it, and Aunt Agnes is like, you need to go tell your friend Mrs. Russell to fire Turner. And Marian is like, now how I get brought into it? You want me to go do what? We can't tell people who they can and cannot hire in their house. Like, are you crazy? But of course, Marian has to oblige. So she crosses the avenue, sits down with Mrs. Russell, lets her know as discreetly and diplomatically as possible, like, girl, we seen your maid with somebody close to the family, and we don't want her around. They don't want the scandal. I can't say who it is, but it's quite clear who it is. Like, girl, who else would it be? And surprisingly, Mrs. Russell is kind of like, well, I'll think about it. We'll see. Okay. Now, what leads her to actually fire Turner is that she sees Turner talking to her son. And it's like, bitch, keep it cute. She has no idea that this hoe been plotting after her man the whole time. It's just like, what you want to do is touch my son. That's what you're not going to do. So, is that everything happening over there? Our good sis Peggy. So excited for Peggy and her journey. So the talk of the town This episode is that Thomas Edison is coming to town to do a demonstration about how he has figured out how to harness the power of electricity and lights and illumination and the future and buzzwords. I think that because of all the technology we have right now, we have this bias about what an achievement, what a marvel it was to have learned how to harness electricity. It's just one of those things we take for granted right now, but that someone really thought to do that, had the mind to do that. And the fact that the person who helped do that was a Black person. And so enter Mr. Fortune, who tells our good sis Peggy, you coming with me to the function. You're going to come with me to the function. We're going to interview people. We're going to write up a whole story about how Mr. Edison did not do this alone. It's actually a Black man. It's always a Black man, or Black person rather. I love Mr. Fortune. If you are a fan of Parks and Rec, you saw Mr. Fortune very randomly in a very brief role on Parks and Rec. Go Google it. I just never forget a face, and I especially don't forget a face as good as that one. I think sparks are flying between Mr. Fortune and Peggy. And I'm really fascinated at the fact that Peggy is the Black girl in the 1800s, but Peggy has more money and actually more access and more freedom to an extent than Marian does. And Marian is actually kind of jealous that Peggy gets to pursue the job that she wants to pursue. And Peggy is going to the function, to the display of lights that Marian can't go to, because what we find out this episode is that Mr. Russel is actually going to be on the stage, because Mr. Russel is a very connected man. He knows everybody and everything. So he's actually going to be on the platform when they do this big lights reveal. So Mrs. Russel is like, well, I'm going to be there to support my man, So they all have their little carriages and they have their lovely dinners, which I'm going to be really honest. This was adorable, and I kind of want to do it. What a lovely little setup. It was so cute. I loved everything about it, except for the servants and the whatnot, but it was such a cute idea. Well, we find out that Mr. Raikes has already been invited into Mrs. Russell's carriage, and there isn't enough room to also invite Marian. And so you can see Marian's wheels kind of turning of like, damn, he done edged me out of the social circle already. Is that what his point is? If he's not really in love with Marian, what is he using her for? Because she's not that well connected. She don't got no money. You're not that cute. Your hair's uneven. You look dusty. What's the draw if he's not really in love with her? I don't trust him at all. I hate to say it, but I'm on Agnes' side. I don't trust Mr. Raikes at all, but I don't understand what exactly he's using Marian for. So Marianne is like, damn, I want to go to the function, but of course Aunt Ada and Aunt Agnes not really trying to go. Aunt Agnes does not want to see or participate in anything new. She does not want to shake the table, which, you know what, I answer my own question. That's why she wants Fire Bannister. She likes the stability of things remaining exactly as they are. Not too much change, and even if something does change, it has to change in a very specific way. That's why she didn't fire him, I suspect. So poor Marianne ended up sitting up in her room, or rather in the drawing room, with Aunt Agnes passed out, Aunt Ada sewing and shit. And like, she's a young woman. She need to be out here on the town. She isn't, but our sis Peggy is. Getting touched on her lower back by Mr. Fortune. Out here doing work, interviewing people, being a reporter. Go ahead, Black Press. I love it. While they're in the carriage, though, Mrs. Fane, who my friend pointed out, she always looked like she's uncomfortable. She's always like, oh, shit, what's going to happen? She peeped that Miss Bingham, I think was her name, is kind of pushing up on Mr. Raikes and inviting him to Newport and whatnot. And, the shitty thing is, too, about the Russells, George Russell is facing indictment. Like, that man might lose everything. And Mrs. Russell is like, but what about my parties? And it's like, but this is all she has. So she is thrilled that Mr. McAllister, who is Mrs. Astor's right-hand man, that's, low-key Miss Astor's good Judy, but he did say that he has an adoring wife who is tucked off in Newport, and it's like, sure you do, babes. But she's climbing that social ladder. This is what her job is. This is what her role is. But it's like, girl, your husband might go to jail. And she's just like, oh, okay, girl. And that's why Turner felt like she could slide in and take her man. So I continue to love Mrs. Chamberlain. I feel for her because she's in this big house with all this money and all this art. Even I have seen that sculpture before. Like, even I know that some of the art in her house is quite famous. And I am not an artsy-fartsy person. She makes a really good point. She sets up this lunch for Marian and Mr. Raikes to kiki, to grin in each other's face and sneak a little kiss or whatever. And, she pretends to be a chaperone, but makes herself scarce, but not too scarce, so that they can have a luncheon. Shall we luncheon? It's like, girl, it's lunch. Leave me alone. I want to look at why they called it luncheon and how the EON got dropped off. Anyway, so Mr. Raikes asked Marian to marry him. And before they part ways, Mrs. Chamberlain imparts some wisdom on them, where she says, turning your back on society might leave you quite lonely. And I can understand that. Her son has moved away because he couldn't deal with the judgment towards his mom. Her husband died. And I think she was kind of telling Marianne, like, you don't want to be a my man. And then but your man left you for dead, ho. Because socially, Mrs. Chamberlain is left for dead. Marian has to sneak and be friends with her, which isn't fair. It's not reasonable. But Mrs. Chamberlain kind of owns it. She's like, I know what I did. I broke the rules, but just be sure that you're prepared for the actual consequences of breaking the rules. Is this love that you have strong enough to make it worth it when all these people turn their backs on you? And what we did discover this episode too is that Aunt Agnes doesn't have any real intention of disinheriting Marian. She just wants to scare her into thinking that, so that she doesn't pursue this relationship. And one thing I can say, I want us to get maybe in season 2 we will, but I want to get the backstory of what actually did happen to Aunt Agnes. Like, I know she was with a man who was like very unpleasant, but every time someone is that way, is a way that's like very unpleasant and unrelentlessly unpleasant, I want to know why. I want to know what made this person that way. Like, I low-key want to know why Turner is such a trifling hoe. Like, what happened to you? I want to know that backstory. Just like we got the backstory of the maids who work in the Van Ryn house. She was sexually assaulted, so she can't, connect with the footman / butler with the very cute little New York accent. I just want to put him in my purse and carry him around. He's so cute. People are always away for a reason. Even the maid in the Van Ryn house, who she got that crotchety ass mama breathing down her back. That's why she act like that. But it's just like, these are explanations, not excuses. Don't be an asshole. But was therapy a thing back then? No. I think they were still dealing with like Freud and his obsession with like sex and parents and stuff. Anyway, I am a little bit curious to know, like, if we'll get more backstory about Aunt Agnes. But I do think that Aunt Agnes is right about Mr. Raikes. I'm ready to see how it unfolds. I also think that the mean maid caught some tea about Peggy. I can't wait to see how things unfold with Peggy. I want to know her backstory. I want to know why she was seeing Mr. Raikes. Like, what did he, pick up, like, in terms of whatever her legal situation is. I'm so ready for that to unfold. But we have 3 more episodes, and I think I covered everything. Forgive me if I didn't. I am going to drop in the episode description just some like historical links, like if you want to learn about the Black man who played part in Thomas Edison's harnessing of electricity and all of the things. And also if you want to read up on like Grand Central Station, which if you've never been to New York, Grand Central Station it really is gorgeous. Like, that roof is gorgeous. I don't really have a reason to be there. I don't really travel that route that often, but it is gorgeous. it is one of those like touristy things that you might want to see and take like a historical tour of if you're curious about. But I will just add some links just in case, like y'all want to know some historical references for like what's taking place right now. And I'll see you guys for episode 8. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, join my Patreon, and send me some coins because there are many things that I would like to purchase. So thank you in advance. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.